Hey Dugan. So this is our presentation. We're doing a two-sample t-test comparing tuition rates between Arizona and Washington State.
So for our question, we asked, is in-state tuition for Arizona public and private universities, which are not including community colleges or online colleges, lower than in Washington?
So to define our question, we only used public and private universities, which meant no online school prices were accounted for. The tuition rates that we looked at were for schools that offered 2 to 4 year undergraduate degrees. Both states held their most popular schools being represented. No scholarships, grants, or loans were taken into consideration, just full price in-state tuition.
Okay, so for our hypothesis, for the null, we had mu of 1 minus mu of 2 equals 0. And for our alternate hypothesis, it was mu 1 minus mu 2 is less than 0. And mu 1 is Arizona, and mu 2 is for Washington. So what they mean, our null hypothesis states that in theory, the states that we are comparing, which are Arizona and Washington, have equal in-state tuition rates for 2 to 4 year undergraduate degrees. We developed the alternative hypothesis believing that the in-state tuition rates for the 2 to 4 year undergrad degrees is less than that of Washington in Arizona. So for our data.
This was our raw data. We collected 22 samples for Washington and 29 samples for Arizona.
To be cautious or not to be. Based upon the central limit theorem, with any data set less than 30, it tells us to proceed with caution only if there are little to no outliers and the distribution is pretty normal. For Arizona, our sample size is 29 with no outliers and the distribution was normal, so we saw no reason to not proceed. Washington has the sample size data of 22, still less than 30, and although the distribution wasn't perfectly normal, the data set had no outliers and the distribution was still normal enough to proceed with caution.
So our data values, we got t equals negative 3.51437. Our p-value is 0.00862. Our degrees of freedom is 24.711. Our x1 is 14,819.9. x2 is 25,689.8. Standard deviation 1 is 4,734.63. And then standard deviation 2 is 13,909.
So our graphs. For the Arizona colleges in-state tuitions, you can see the fairly normal distribution and that most of the tuition rates lie between 10.5 thousand to 19.5 thousand. And for Washington colleges, there are a few on the lower end, but the prices can be much higher and almost double than, like the highest college price in Washington is double than that of Arizona.
So our results. After running the tests, we decided to reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative hypothesis. We determined that tuition rates for an in-state 2 to 4 year undergraduate degree are lower than that of Washington. We believe that these conclusions are product to the fact that Arizona is very hot and dry all the time, not making it ideal weather for day-to-day living. As opposed to Washington, where the weather is more fair, the area is more liberal, and there is more access to a better day-to-day living, which is basically a college student dream.
And what we learned was that coming up with a good question and defining the variables well wasn't the easiest of tasks. And with more time, we would have had more extensive research and be able to develop the experiment more.
And that's our works cited. Thank you.